What is up, y'all? So it's Soliel with Soul Rise Essentials. We are doing a live tonight, and we are on episode 5 of our Soul Seat Conversations. I'm not sure why I'm a little nervous tonight, but I'm sure the more I talk, the more I'm gonna get like the little jitterbugs and stuff out. But y'all come on in the room as we welcome our guest, James Harris of Men to Heal. I'm just gonna do a couple little chats real quick before we start get everything started. But so I am the CEO and the owner of Soul Rise Essentials. My name is Soliel, if I didn't say that already. And what we do is we offer unisex affirmation apparel and accessories for the entire family. And our merch, we exist pretty much to empower you on your best days and in between. So we make merch for the kids in your life. I call them the littles. So for adults, anybody throughout the world, but we make apparel for resilient humans on the grow. And tonight we're doing a Soul Seat Conversation, and what the Soul Seat Conversations, what we exist to do essentially is we have transparent and candid conversations with people from around the world. Can y'all believe, y'all? I have the Soul Seat Conversations booked up all the way until September. So we are more than halfway through the year with guests already lined up, and I'm excited about tonight because we actually have our first male guest, y'all. I'm really excited. So we have some more guys that are going to be coming on in the coming months as well. But I got some notes because I'm still really new to this, y'all. But I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about why I'm doing the Soul Seat Conversation. So what I want to do is connect y'all. I want to build more community. We already have the Soul Tribe community. I'm going to talk about this new merch that just hit the website today too. But so to connect, to continue building community, to inspire you, to share, to learn. I'm not a professional, I have to say that, but it just so happens that my guest tonight, he actually is a professional. He's a professional therapist, and that's actually just one of his titles. So I always say that I'm not a professional because sometimes some of the things that we share here, it gets a little deep, it gets a little personal, but these are just shared, lived experiences. So I don't want anything that is talked about just in general on the Soul Seat Conversations to come off as like any type of advice or anything like that. But we've shared some things in the past, things about sexuality, alcoholism, trigger warning. Some of these must come with a trigger warning. So we've talked about things like domestic violence and abuse. We've talked about mental wellness. We've talked about mental illness. So my voice is doing something tonight, y'all. I'm not sure what it is. But come on in. I see y'all. Come on into the room. I think it's the weather change. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and y'all, it snowed today. I'm not sure where you are, but I think my voice and, my throat and everything is kind of reacting to all the weather changes. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. Let me just shout out some of y'all, and I'm going to bring James in the room to the Soul Seat. He's already here. What's up, Lex? Hi, Mama Janie. What's up, Markeisha? Shout out to Blocal Search, Indulge Alkaline Water. Shout out to y'all. Y'all, did y'all know we have a Black-owned water brand and it's alkaline? Go get you some water. Shout out to Mike. Yes, I do need water. Oh, that was a perfect plug. But you know what? You're going to have to give me some alkaline water because all I got is this, we're not going to name this brand. It's not alkaline water, but it's water. All right, y'all. So let me bring James into the room. I'm sorry, James, I'm coming, I promise. So let's talk about this new merch, y'all. So I have on a Soul Tribe affirmation necklace. It is our #1 seller on our website. So we don't just sell apparel, we also have affirmation jewelry as well. So I'm wearing a brand new mini Soul Tribe affirmation necklace. So behind me, you see the 3 colors that we offer. That is the adult version. That's the normal one that I normally wear. But I've gotten some feedback, that some people like more dainty, minimalistic jewelry. So I added this to the website, and it's like a choker style. So it can actually come down a little bit more if you wanted to, but you can also purchase these for kids. So go to the website. I created a special code for y'all to save 10% just for 24 hours. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this 10% code will expire. But James 10 is the code. So JAMES 10. Go to soulriseessentials.com. Y'all, I'm gonna get my voice together and I'm gonna drink some more water. They said no, don't drink that. Listen, how can we get some of that water? Drop a link or something down in the description box, not the description box, in the comments below. Y'all, we have a Black-owned alkaline water brand. If you want to find out more about Black-owned businesses throughout the whole nation, check out blocalsearch.com. So Markeisha, drop your information down in the comments as well. That's BLOCAL LOCAL. So, and Markeisha, drop my code down below too, because we're not here for that tonight. But yeah, let me go ahead and bring you in, James. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Teese. So let's get into it, y'all. I'm gonna let James tell y'all who he is in a second. What's going on? Don't be laughing at me.
What's happening?
How you doing?
Good, good. Appreciate you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm like really excited. If you can't tell, I'm like nervous and excited at the same time, but I'm like excited for what's about to happen. So, welcome to the Soul Seat. I know that you saw my little spiel in the beginning, and I just want to start off by you telling everybody who you are. With Soul Rise Essentials, I offer affirmation apparel. So I want you to start off your statement with "I am," because those "I am" statements, they powerful. So let the people know who you are.
Oh, I mean, yeah, not well. First, appreciate you for having me. I definitely don't take it for granted that you reached out, but I'm a father, veteran, entrepreneur, therapist, um, investor. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. You know,
Okay, I heard you say investor. I didn't know that. You do a lot of stuff.
yeah. Markeisha, know we've
Okay,
talked a couple
okay.
times. Yeah,
So
I
you
got a
also
nice little
have,
portfolio.
I see, you also have a healing hub in Richmond, Virginia too, right?
Yeah, on Broad Street. Yep.
So talk to us a little bit more about that specifically.
Yeah, so the Healing Hub is a spot where I do my, counseling, consulting. It also has several different offices in there. It has an event space that you can rent, for venue standpoint, wedding rehearsals, dance rehearsals. So pre-pandemic, I was doing sessions, yoga, Zumba, mindfulness, and then of course community sessions.
Okay,
60 chairs, some tables,
okay,
200-inch projector. So I was having different speakers come in to ensure that we are providing a service to the community, such as first-time home buying seminars, LGBTQ seminars, voter restoration, restoration of rights, just so many different things. Of course, I was doing my functions there too, the group segments for the men. And what else do we do there? It's just
a
so
little
many
bit of
different things. Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I didn't realize you were doing all of that. I know Dr. Ram has done some stuff at the healing hub, right?
Yeah. He's actually one of the tenants I have in there. So he does of course his drums no guns thing, and his wife does the Zumba there actually.
Okay, okay. So you do a lot, and that's why I felt like it was important to have you on here, because I honestly, you were on my radar about a year ago. I started seeing your shirts pop up, and I'm like, what is this? And then I don't really hear a lot of men talk about like mental health, so I was really like drawn to that. And I didn't realize that you were a therapist. I just thought that whoever you were passionate about, mental health. And now I know that you're a therapist. It's just really dope. So I'm excited, to kind of get more into your story, because what I like to do here is get behind the person and share those resilient stories, because it's clear that like you have a story and you're thriving. You're doing a lot of work for the community, and you're a Black man. Advocating for mental health, not for just other Black men, but for our community, just as a people. So I'm inspired by that. I just wanted to take time to let you know that, and just to thank you for all of the work that you're doing. So let's get into your story, the man behind Men to Heal. First of all, like, where did that name come from? I know it kind of sounds like self-explanatory, but I want you to tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah. Not well. First of all, I received those phrases that you just acknowledged. I definitely appreciate those. So Mental Heal is something that I founded in 2018. So that was my last year of grad school. I graduated, yeah, in 2018. Um, and probably if you're a fellow clinician out there or therapist listening, you probably had this assignment in grad school. If it was any one population that you can help, who would it be? So we had an assignment comprised on that. So I was the only Black male in my cohort, and there was only four males. Um, so naturally, of course, people picked LGBTQ rights, sex workers, women's rights, veterans. And initially, I chose veterans too because I'm a veteran. That population is oftentimes underserved as well. But then I thought about it like, I'm the only Black man in here. Men are often reluctant to seek services. So I took that on as a project, and it went well. I wound up, getting a nice grade, and it just was comprised of so many different research that I've done and so many different case studies and, you know, uh, surveys that I talked to people, whether it was moms or wives or the men themselves, and the feedback just was astonishing. So, it just became a mission. So fast forward, when I finished grad school, I started in private practice at Avail. I was at a practice before them, but Avail Outpatient Counseling, Tangier and Dr. B is where like the staple came from. They do phenomenal work in the community with women, So I used to always tease them like, "Yo, when we gonna do something for the men?" I was the only male therapist there for like
Yeah.
2 years, maybe. So how that came about, I was just like, "Well, I'm gonna just do something." So um, that was it. I just did that. I reverted back to the assignment that I had in grad school, and then put together. I had the art gallery with AJ on Hall Street, the Well.
Okay.
So we had a segment there, men and mental health. So it probably was 25 people that showed up. Then I continued to have them, and they just continued to grow. Got all the way up to about 65, 70 people. And it just was growing from there. And me being an entrepreneur before therapy, I just was like, well, I need to brand it, I need to monetize it. So I was stuck at a train, Broad Rock by the VA, the train or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
I'm in Southside.
yeah. So I got a Tesla. So I was just doodling on the screen, like, yo, let me, because in my mind, like, all right, cool, I'm a word. So when I had these segments, people I know. Um, and for me, it was a conversation starter and, of course, brand recognition. So I took a picture from the Tesla that I drew of this, sent it directly to the lady who do my shirts here, right here in Richmond, Don Cherry on top tees. And
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to Dawn. That's how I
yeah,
found out
yeah.
about you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, she pressed up one, I think one white, one black. It's like, all right, cool. And then after that, it was a wrap. So when I started wearing it, people come up like, oh man, that's dope. What that mean? So conversation starter. And then of course, moms or wives would come up like, oh man, my brother can use this or my husband can use this. So, and before I knew it, I had over 1,000 sold just like that. And, it just continued to grow itself,
What,
basically.
were you selling them out your trunk or you had a website already set up?
Nah, I still move them out the trunk. Like, that. So for me, like, so I was an entrepreneur before I even had bachelor's. Like I had
Yeah.
2 properties and 3 profitable businesses before I even had a bachelor's. I paused entrepreneurship, went to college, got a degree in clinical psychology. Then I got my master's in clinical mental health counseling. And then after
Okay.
graduation,
Okay.
I started the licensure journey, So all of that was me giving back to the community, like, recognizing that it was a lapse in services, men was reluctant, so I just wanted to serve. I just wanted to be what I didn't have when I was younger or,
Yeah.
as a veteran. So all
Yeah.
of those things just comprised of that. Because I can always get money. I can always do so many other things business wise, but the ability to help people, to
Yes.
inspire people, to advocate for people like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's way more beneficial. And I got the loved ones looking. I want to make sure that I'm a model for them.
Yeah. And you're a father too. Did you say that earlier?
Yeah, that was the first thing I said.
Okay, I'm sorry. I told you I was a little nervous for some reason. I'm still getting used to like being on camera and stuff, doing this consistently. So I apologize for missing that. But
No, it's all good.
I want to put a pin in something you said real quick. So you said that it's not a problem with you figuring out how to make money and entrepreneurship, things like that, but you chose to give back to the community. You chose to go to school and get your credentials to be a clinician and sit in those offices and do you do mental health evaluations and things like that too?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So just being in that seat, it's I like again I have to say it, I commend you because there's so many other things you could have chosen to do. So it's just not something I see very often. So I felt like it was important to have you on here for representation for multiple different reasons. Like you said, you're a father, you're a veteran, you're a Black man. I don't know the last time I saw a therapist with goals in their mouth.
Yeah, I
So
mean, and that's part of, connectability. That's part of being from the culture. I know a lot of people talk cultural competence, but like,
yes,
you can't learn being Black from a book. You can't learn being Black from case studies. Like, certain things you have to actually be from that segment, that pocket of what it is that you serve in. I don't disagree that you can, be informed by certain things. Like, like I'm not a woman, but I can empathize. I can put myself in those positions, but of course, a woman to another woman can be more beneficial. And the
Yeah,
same thing with like the Asian community or the Hispanic community. I'm not either one of those ethnicities, but I can empathize with them. But I'm sure
absolutely.
they'll be better served from somebody from that culture.
Yeah.
But me, I'm from Richmond. I'm from the projects. Creighton
What
Court.
side of
So
Richmond?
I was born in Creighton Court, but I live pretty much everywhere. So I was actually awarded a state too, so foster care and group home, and that
Yeah.
was my early recollection and discomfort with therapy. To be honest with you, just being awarded a state, like therapy was mandatory.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it could have been. They play it for, of course, the clientele or the population within the group homes, but it could have been a check in the box. It could have been so they can continue to get funding or whatever the case is. And to me, being a young kid from the projects, therapy was just so unrelatable. It was foreign, and it wasn't a pleasant experience because I'm this young black kid. All these therapists are older white people, so that's
Yeah.
another reason why I make sure that my representation is what it is, so I can touch that kid in the urban area, or that people need that. They want to be able to look in the mirror, So
Absolutely.
I just make sure I do what I have to do, and outside of that, like just being a business minded person and just being authentically myself. I don't want people to feel like professionalism is a certain standard, So even foam zone, and people in there with shirt and ties. So either way, like I just want to always be myself.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I got a lot from what you were just saying. I'm gonna just pause for a second because I love that this is interactive. I got some comments, people kind of giving you some praise down here real quick. Javion, Dr. Javion says he was really on the grind and then looked at the community and decided to make a change. I love that so much. Thank y'all for being interactive. If you have questions and more praise and comments, definitely continue leaving that down below. My mama Janie says, be yourself. I love that. And I love that you said that because this is something that I just stopped struggling with. Even on my business page, trying to figure out how much of myself I wanted to show up. So I just commend you for being brave enough to be like, look, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. I got my credentials, but I can also go to Creighton or wherever in Richmond and show up for my community as well. So it doesn't have to be an either or. It could be an and. So I just wanted to say that, because that's something that a lot of us struggle with, trying to bridge that gap between professionalism and what we do and where we come from. So
Yeah. So and that's a part of a bigger systemic issue, because a lot of people will have you believe that professionalism is a certain thing. You have to have on a shirt and tie. You have to be well polished. You have to be XYZ. But the truth of the matter is, you don't. You can be your authentic self. Like I like to use urban vernacular. I talk in slang. You the grills, the shoes. And I have a degree, the same thing that they got. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I got my hours the same way they got their hours. So it's
yeah,
all about presentation, and I understand the population that I serve, and I'm sought out for that reason. Think about the people who don't go to certain places, whether it's therapy, whether it's businesses,
yeah,
just because they probably feel like they'll be judged, or they
yeah,
feel like, they don't fit in or whatever, whether it's imposter syndrome, insecurities, or just a valid reason of, I'm not gonna talk to you. You're gonna judge me. You're gonna look down on me. You can't relate.
yeah.
So all of those things are important. So it's definitely important for me to be in this space and to be myself, not only for the clientele, but for me as a person.
Yes, absolutely. So something else you said earlier, which I wasn't aware of. So even the term ward of state, I've heard that before, but does that equate to being in foster care? Is that the same thing?
Foster care and group home. So ward of the state is, your state property, not like state property is also the jail, the direct correction settings, but it's also a section of being foster care, group home, any other hospitalization settings and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. I asked that question. I wanted to be clear because I'm learning too. As I do this, we're educating people, and I'm also here to learn too. So I remember you saying something like that therapy was mandatory because you were a ward of the state. And I kind of want to circle back around and integrate my experience with yours. So I had my first counseling therapy session in like fifth grade. I was bad. So even in elementary school, and they would pick some of us out of our class, the ones that were being disruptive, and we would go sit with a therapist and kind of do like activities and talk, draw, things like that. And I remember had a couple experiences like that. The very first person was a Black woman, which is crazy. And I remember like feeling comfortable opening up to her, even though, you know, at home, my parents may have been trying to get through to me, but they couldn't really. But seeing this Black woman, you know, talking and trying to get through to me, it did help. And then as time kind of went on, middle school, high school, there were some other opportunities I had to go to therapy. And it was like, you know, white old men. And I didn't connect with that. So
Yeah.
I think what you are doing is so important because I don't know your age range, you know, that you provide therapy sessions for, but and definitely tell me. But I just think it's just so important, like you were talking about their representation. Little Black boys need to see themselves because if they do get into a situation or are afforded the opportunity to go to therapy, then it provides more space for a breakthrough, you know?
Yeah, not only that though, the cohesive bond can be, you know, it can happen more faster because you don't have as I can't speak for everybody, but I don't have as much resistance of trying to get them to realize like, yo, I'm on your side, we're in this together. It's more collaborative opposed to them thinking like I can't tell you this because you know what I'm saying? Like so it's a difference. But as far as who I see young is probably age 10 all the way up to 100, you know. And it's not only boys or Black people, it's, you know, I see women, I see couples, I see adolescents, I see adults, you know.
Other races.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And did you have a chance to go to any of the Black mental health was Black Mental Health Week in Richmond back in October with Tangi and
Yeah. With Mecca and them. I went to
yeah.
I took one of my little ones to the
Okay.
one at the facility in Jackson Ward, the teens one.
Okay. To
So
get a
she
chance.
did that, yeah. But that's something separate.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
No, I was
So I
asking
support when
because
I'm free. Yeah.
okay. No, something that you said just now made me realize because Mecca was talking about her experience being a clinician. She's like, I'm Black, but I don't just see Black people. I'm here for y'all. But same thing with you. Like I'm a Black therapist. The representation is there, but you see all kind of people.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I definitely believe therapy is something that one can find a breakthrough from and one can benefit from. So I don't discriminate to just one ethnicity. You know, I help as many people as I can.
And
So
you're
if
not
that
allowed to discriminate, right?
nah, not
Yeah.
nah. I mean, you know, but if it's outside of your scope, you can definitely refer, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, I want to get more into this foster care situation. So, how did you end up in foster care?
My dad died when I was 5. My mom got sick with so she have strokes and she have epilepsy. She's still alive, but she live in New York. She's in you know, one of them hospital settings. She moved there in 2019 at the end, right before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, she started having strokes. So she had around the clock nurses. And then I think one time the nurse was off or something or didn't come and she was unresponsive. So I guess something happened. So of course the ambulance came or whatever. And then since she was unresponsive, you got kids in the house. It was one of those situations. So all right, cool. Now social service got to be notified and investigation or whatever. So I don't know what happened to the nurse, but at that point it was pretty much too late because although she had round the clock nurses, they didn't come that day, and that's when something happened. I think it
Oh,
was something
wow.
like yeah. So we wound up going to foster care. Me, my brother, my sister. I'm the oldest of three, and you know, good experience. It was a nice family. It was we was together, me, my brother, and my sister, and then it was like two or three other kids at that time as well. But some happened within foster care too, with the foster parents to where we had to go to a group home setting, and this was I was probably about 13 at the time. So
Okay.
the group home setting is me, my brother, and my sister had split up. We went to separate group homes, you know. And, that's where the journey started of me being independent minded and focused and like just ambitious to aspire to have more. So I wound up emancipating myself at 16 and, just felt that I'd be better on my own before I age out the system and have to do it anyway. So
Wow.
pretty much I just got an early start on life. I mean, I guess it was some pros and cons to that because I can look back now and say, yeah, it was a good decision because I made it. But I also can look back and say, yo, you tripping. Like, because anything could have happened, but
Yeah.
I just was fortunate enough to, I guess, the resilience and the tenacity was there for me to turn out
Yeah.
the way I did.
Yeah. You seem like you have a lot of just natural ambition. So, you said, so I want to make sure I have the timeline right. You said your dad passed away at 5, and then
Hmm.
how old were you when your mom got sick?
Well, she was sick throughout it, but that incident occurred maybe when I was like 10.
Okay, so 10, and then you said 13. Y'all split off into different
Yeah,
foster care. Okay,
yep.
okay.
And I
So
was,
y'all were together for
from
3 years.
13, yeah, 3 years after that, then 3 years we weren't. And then when I turned 16, that's when I emancipated myself.
Got it. Okay, so at 13, when y'all split off and went to the different home or the different group homes, what happened? Like, are you still close with your siblings?
Yeah. No, yeah,
Oh,
we good. It ain't our fault that, life circumstances took place.
yeah.
And that influenced a lot of my decisions too, like working and high school, I went to Franklin Military High School. This one, uniforms was mandatory. So for me, it was more of I'll just wear uniforms and make sure they good as far as, because they were still in regular school, so they had to buy clothes, they had to do
Yeah.
everything else. So when I was working, I'll make sure that they was good as well. So like I'll take my money, and although the system, facilities normally get funding, but you can't rely on them to make sure that you fly fresh. So I ain't want them to be in school being teased and all that. So, I just made sure I did what I had to do for them. Making sure they good as far as financially, making sure I'm keeping contact with them, make sure that I head on right, things like that.
Yeah. So, as open and transparent as you are about your story, have you always been like that, or did you have to build up to like start talking?
Nah. Like vulnerability is something that has been with me forever, and I think it's important that we do share a part of us, So regardless, like being transparent, being open, and being authentic, it allows other people to feel that they can be the same way. Because
I agree.
oftentimes people are way too guarded, and they wind up missing the connection with somebody, or aren't able to, identify things within themselves that they should have. So for me,
I,
it's just always been, I'm cool with you knowing actually how I feel. And not only that, like, not only do I know my boundaries, I understand my boundaries and I enforce my boundaries. So that's the difference.
you gotta talk that talk.
So like
Yeah,
everybody has boundaries, but not everybody enforces our boundaries.
enforces them.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So they oftentimes get taken advantage of, or they
Yes.
reduce themselves in certain situations.
Yep.
And that's the main thing. Like I know when to disclose or when to not. But for me, I think it's more appropriately that I do because it, I don't missed out on a lot of opportunities for being overly expressive, but I
Mm.
also
Yep.
gained a lot of opportunities for
Yep.
being over expressive.
Yep.
Jay, what
Well,
up, bro?
you talking? You better talk. You better talk. Okay, let me read these comments real quick. So Markeisha says, "Woo, that's a word right there. Vulnerability. Yes, it is." Mama JD says, "Absolutely." Nick Nat Creation says, "Absolutely, most definitely." Listen. Who's this? King J says, "Enforce boundaries." Tammy Mobley says, "Yes, hell yes." James, that's what John said.
Oh,
Listen, you
my
are
man,
dropping some.
King J. Congrats on your show on man. I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. Keep up the good work.
Oh, that's awesome!
Uh,
Congratulations.
Tammy, thanks for viewing. Of course, we're gonna continue to collab.
Yeah.
Markeisha, you the homie. Keep up
Yes.
all the good work that you got going on with Local. You already
Yes.
know it's love, and everybody else. I definitely appreciate y'all as well.
Yes, I'm really loving the interaction and just all the amazing people that decided to join us tonight. I felt like I kind of have a peek as to what it could be being a client of yours in your office because it's like you just real and raw and just telling it like it is. And I'm honestly, I feel like this is just me being transparent. I am impressed and I'm learning a lot right now because we generalize a lot. You know, we say black people are this, black women are this, black men are that. They're not expressive, they're not that. So I'm really enjoying the fact that you're open and you're honest and your answer to my question about being vulnerable. Like, you're like, no, that's just always been how I am. But I assume, not gonna lie, that because of the work that you do, that you had to build up to get to that point. But you're like, no, this is just how I am. So
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, even as a kid, though, like I think for me, since I've, experienced a lot, I was just in a position to let somebody know, or I felt the need to say, yo, nah, I'm not doing that, or nah, that don't feel right, or hey, I need to tell you something. I'm cool with being receiving help. I'm cool with acknowledging my limitations and wanting to receive services. I think a lot of people don't do that because they either got a situation that didn't go as good, or they just felt like they can't go to this person in a reliable situation. So it all depends. A
it
lot
does.
of different things can happen.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. But I think a lot of what you're saying needs to be heard because I know people on both sides. Like, I'm not a clinician. I didn't go to school for psychology, sociology, none of that stuff. But I really enjoy learning about people. I love to observe and study. But I don't see, even with my interactions, my close interactions with friends, partners, relatives, it is a common trend that, guys are just not, number one, expressive about emotions and things that they've been through. So it's just awesome. Like I said, it's new for me. I know a lot of people. I do. So
So
it's
I would disagree with that. So the thing is, like, a lot of people think that men aren't expressive, and the truth is they are. They just oftentimes don't express themselves in healthy ways. So that's the difference.
I agree.
A lot of people probably verbalize, like me, I'm cool with verbalizing, yo, hey, nah, I'm not doing that, that don't feel right, stop, or I'm going through this, I need a break, or whatever the case is. And on the other side of that, you have the other men who have those self-destruction features, whether that is I just resolve it in a bottle, or I be promiscuous, or I do some other reckless behavior act. So those things are them expressing themselves, or
Yeah.
them trying to find what it is that they're seeking for. So it
Right.
all depends. The
Yes.
thing is, we just got to ensure that we're translating those things into healthy ways to
Yes.
disclose that information or to receive that help.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. I actually posted something on my personal page about that earlier. I didn't say who or what, but what I've noticed with men that I know is they'll use like lack of communication or the silent treatment as a way to communicate something to you. So, like you said, from what I've noticed, most men can be expressive with their actions. So it's not that you're, like you said, you're human. You have emotions. You emote. You express, but it's definitely different. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I do want to read some of these comments as well. Tanya says you have a great story. It's very similar to hers. Um, Markeisha says security is key. We are expressive in our own way. That came from a man, A. Meyer, PhD. Markeisha has a question. How can you help to encourage healthy communication?
Uh, I think she was the same person that said security, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think it has to be. So on my YouTube is a video on communication. It's also a video on healthy relationships. You definitely can check those out. But I think in communication, people oftentimes forget that it's the giver of the message, the receiver of the message, but you also have to ensure that people comprehend the message. And I think oftentimes they get lost. So if I ask you something or you ask me something one time and it didn't go the way that we expected it to go, we might
yeah,
be reluctant to come back to you and, or we might disclose too much or, try to supplement certain things within that conversation. So it all depends on where you are within that spectrum. But I definitely think empathy, compassion, and patience is definitely important too, especially if this person wasn't raised in a situation to where they had to communicate. And a lot of people don't understand It's a lot within communication, because then we can get into attachment styles, we can get into parenting styles on how people was raised. And even if you look around your office tomorrow, you'll see that people don't know how to communicate. Like when some people are met with resistance, they
Yeah.
shut down. Some people become argumentative or defensive or play the victim. So it's so many different levels to it.
Yeah.
And it all can be traced back to, again, like how you was raised, your attachment style, your parenting style, like all of those things comprise make us who we are, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But those things are definitely important, and you definitely should recognize them, especially within your social groups, and the people that you associate with, friendship wise.
Come on now, drop the gems now. I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah,
All right. I think we had Tammy says they express with who they feel comfortable and vulnerable with. That's true. We got to, like you said, create safe spaces too. Listening as well. I can do a lot better with that in my relationships. That's definitely something I'm working on. Silent treatment is emotional abuse. Yes. All right.
yeah.
So
It definitely can be.
yeah. Um, we talked about what you do. And I think you've already answered this question, but I wrote down to ask you define was there a defining moment in your life that pushed you into your work? And I believe you already answered that.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just being in a situation to where I didn't have me, like, or somebody in my situation, like I was needed. Um, So I just want to make sure that nobody else is in that situation, whether you're a young person, a veteran, a father, because that happens too. Um, and so it's a video on my YouTube on infant loss, but from a father's perspective.
Yeah.
Because
I have a guy coming on talking about that. Is it Terrence or another guy?
no, it was somebody else.
Okay.
But just realistically, though, a lot of fathers been like miscarriages, the women are often affected physically and, of course, mentally as well. But so is the father. But all the resources are often shifted to the mother. Not to take away from that, but the father need that validation too, need that support system, need those resources, and it's not often there. So just being in a position to make sure that I can stand in and advocate or provide resources and assistance on certain things, that's pretty much what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So we talked about your childhood and how you ended up as a ward of the state. I have a question based off that. Did any of that experience affect your mental health being in foster care? Because I heard you say it was a good experience.
Um, I guess that's a relative question depending on circumstance. But we don't know at the time that we can become like if when you're in a situation and you're going through a situation, you're growing through certain things. You don't know, one, you're establishing resilience, you're learning, you're adapting, you're coping, you're going through phases of change. So I would say, but I also would say that it could have hindered my decisions, my life, because at one point I could have been too numb, too cold, and desensitized to a lot of things, not as emotional connected as I should be in certain
Mm.
situations. So, um, I guess that answer would depends on, where in the spectrum I would say, but I definitely would say that a lot of good came from the situation.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you about your military career. When did that happen? Are you still in the military? Let's talk about that.
Now, I got out the military in 2013. That was my contract was up. I joined the military in 2005. So, so to rewind, I said I emancipated myself at 16. So,
Mhm.
you know, did high school and all that, signing my own permission slips because legally I was an adult. So anyway, fast forward, 18, went to college. I went to St. Paul's College, one of the oldest HBCUs in the country, no longer exists. But doing winter break, spring break, the breaks and stuff. Like since I was still technically homeless, I had a car though, so I had a microwave and a foreman. So clean out the dorm, put that in the in the back seat, and then of course on spring break, winter break, stuff like that. Like I sneaked back into the dorm room, just set back up shop because technically that was my only place of residence. And then one of the Cool, still cool friends to this day. One of the workers that used to work at the group home, his son had moved to Carolina, so he was like, "Yo, bro, you ain't gotta sneak back in your dorm. You can just stay here. My son gone." Da da da. Da. So did that on breaks like freshman year, but going into sophomore year, I was like, I don't want to be a burden to him. You know, he got life. He trying to do what he trying to do. So that was my decision to join the Army. Not
Okay.
only that, of course, it was, you know, financial reasons. I can eat. I ain't got to worry about nothing. They get you uniforms, so you ain't got to worry about
They
clothes.
pay you good.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. So, you know,
Yeah.
I can send money back to my sister and brother. So
Mm.
for me, it was one of those decisions. So join. And being that it was survival for me, like I excelled at the, you know, throughout training levels, like, and it was just phenomenal. It was a good experience. And a lot of people don't know, like, when you in basic training and AIT and stuff like that, like, it's a some people stand out, so they get put in certain positions. I was just fortunate enough to be put in those positions. One, I came from a military too, but then two, like, yo, I'm here because this is all I have. Like, you know, so some people took it for granted. Some people was entitled. Some people was just plain old white privilege. You know, so it was a couple of different diasporas within that, and
Yeah.
you know, so it was challenging for some, but for me, it was a pretty good experience. So I wound up doing 8 years, two deployments, one Iraq, one Afghanistan,
Okay.
and you know, rest is history.
Wow. Okay. And the only reason why I asked about that is because, it can be correlated, with, I don't want to say poor mental health, but mental health bouts and the military. And then you just said you did a couple deployments. So has that affected you in any type of way as it pertains to your mental health?
Oh yeah, at the beginning it definitely did, and that was part of the reason too why the movement is here, because a lot of veterans affected, especially me. Like, so I had two deployments. I was a gunner. I was a, you know, driver, just a combat engineer. So it was a lot
Mm,
of explosions. It was
yeah.
a lot of combat. You know, and of course, we as humans have different resiliency levels. So
Right.
what affects me might not affect you, and vice versa. But anyway, like, this was another part of the therapeutic experience that wasn't as beneficial in the psychotherapy realm, because combat veteran, I'm talking to somebody with no combat experience. You know, so, and that's part of the reason why a lot of veterans tend to go to the groups opposed to individual therapy.
Yes.
And some don't do nothing at all and wind up, of course, self-medicating, whether that's a substance, alcohol, you know, just reckless behavior and all that. And of course, we got to acknowledge the fact that 22 veterans take their lives every day, you
Mm,
know, so those things are definitely important. And for me, like, I didn't want to be a part of that statistic. So, of course, I stayed the course with therapy, with groups and stuff like that. And it just was beneficial. Made those decisions just based on the fact that, like, I don't want to hurt the people vicariously around me, you know, daughter, partner, community, you know, coworkers, you know. So I did what I had to do for those situations. But
yeah.
yes, oftentimes soldiers are affected and don't take advantage of what can be a situation.
I'm so proud of you. I feel like I'm like your little sister cheering you on or something like that. I'm just proud. Like, it really makes me happy to hear your responses to a lot of these questions, because I have a couple of really, really good male friends that are in the military. And I wanted to ask that question with them in mind because I opened up to one of them about like some mental health bouts that I had in my early 20s. And he was so comfortable after I shared that. He opened up about some struggles he had, right? And he was explaining how he was driving down 64, and he was in combat as well. And he was saying that he saw some not sawdust, but some type of dust because they were doing construction on the side of the highway, right? And then he heard like some loud stuff, and then with the dust and all of that, so some PTSD things kind of kicked in. And he said nobody could tell him that he was not back in Afghanistan because it just shifted that fast. So
Definitely.
it was just amazing. Number one, that he opened up to me about that, and he is medicated, and thriving, beautiful family, married, all of that stuff. But you look at him and you wouldn't even think. Uh, that's why I do what I'm doing now, because we look at people and we always assume, oh, he good, he got his Tesla, his fiance, his wife,
But
he's all.
and that's the misconception though
Yeah,
about mental health. So physical health, you can look at somebody like, oh man, he's bleeding, he got a scrape on his arm. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, she got a limp. You know, but you can't like physically look at nobody's brain and see it's a
Yes.
chemical imbalance
Yeah.
or a emotional, issue, or all of those things are difficult. So unless somebody relay that information, you can
Yes.
only speculate based on what they're providing. So
Right.
that's a difficult thing.
Right. Yeah, you never know. You just never know. Like, so I was kind of floored by that, but I asked because I know it can have effects, especially, depending on what you're doing in the military, things like that. So you've had some different layers, to your journey, and I wanted to ask about that for anybody watching, especially watching the replay. If you are in any type of situation, whatever it may be, if it relates to something that he went through or just your own journey, like, what can you say, James, to people, male, female, black, white, purple, blue, American, non-American? What can you say to people that know that they are struggling with something mentally, spiritually, emotionally? What can you say to them? Well, they know that, and then they refuse, or they're not more apt to go get treatment, or just to talk to somebody. Like, what do you say to those people?
Nothing. So it's two people. So I'll say this. So when a wife like drag her husband into therapy, I just tell her the same thing. Like, two people I can assist for real. Somebody who don't say issue with their actions, or somebody that don't want to be helped.
Yeah,
Because it's gonna create too much resistance. It's gonna
yeah,
create too much of an issue, and it's gonna cause them too much strife too. You
yeah,
trying to force somebody when they're not ready.
yeah,
Like, that's a journey that one has to discover on their own.
yeah,
The thing is, like, people around them have to be, supportive and empathetic and not enablers. So if you show them with your actions, like, hey, listen, by enforcing those boundaries, like, listen, you got a lot going on, or you're not taking care of yourself properly, you're not going to bring that to me. You're not going to cause me emotional pain or mental distress or physical harm. So those are the things that you can do for that person to realize, like, oh man, right now I'm not just self-destructing, I'm affecting my partner, my kids, or my coworker. Let me see if it is something else that I can do. Outside of that, it's really nothing else you can do. You can talk
yeah,
to them until you're
yeah,
blue in the face, but
yeah,
until they see, like, I'm pushing people away, or my actions could have been differently, or whatever those things are, that's what happened to take place. But
yeah.
you can yell at somebody, you can do whatever you want to do, you can dance and say, hey, look at me, treat me like I'm treating you, but that's not where they are. So
Yeah.
those are the difficult things that people don't want to realize, because you think, like, mentally, like, I can change them, I
Right.
just gotta, this person, they love me enough, they're gonna do XYZ.
Yeah.
No,
So you wouldn't say anything to that person. You would just say to the people around them, or to them, examine your relationships. Are you happy with those relationships? If not, then maybe you should consider doing something different.
yeah, and I'm not saying just pack up and dip on them. I'm
Uh-huh.
saying, like, evaluate where you are. Are you
Yes.
willing to continue to cause yourself discomfort? Are you considered to continue to take that abuse, whether that's verbally, emotionally? Because now you're drained. Like, if you at work and, oh man, I got to go home and deal with this, or
Yeah.
I don't want to be around such and such today because they're gonna bring me down. I don't like the energy. I don't, evaluate where you guys are within that relationship, and then once you let them know that, they probably will make subtle changes. But if not, just think about it. Like, they don't know what they don't know. All
Exactly.
they know now is, I can do this, I can get away with it. And more than likely, somebody is probably enabling that behavior by letting them continue to do it, or,
Yes.
just putting themselves in that position to be in that position. So I think you just got to make those subtle changes. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, are afraid of the results of those things. So just continue to support them. You can
Yeah.
give them resources even. So whether that's saying, hey, I found this person that you might can talk to, or I found this book that probably be good for you. Somebody else is going through what you're going through. So those things are definitely important.
You just be laying it down like real cool. I'm just here for it. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I love the fact that you are breaking down what it looks like to have boundaries. I call it boundaries in motion. I love that you're talking about how to set those boundaries, because when I posted what I posted earlier about like the silent treatment, lack of communication, things like that, somebody brought up boundaries, and they pretty much try to relate those two behaviors to having boundaries. And for me personally, I believe it's a distinct difference. Like, you have to communicate your boundaries. Like you said earlier, you can't just up and dip on somebody. Like, I do feel like communication is really important in any type of relationship, platonic, familial, romantic. You have to communicate. Like, if you stuck in a situation, you don't like how it's going, why are you going to, like you said earlier, not support yourself or be stuck in that situation and enable it by not speaking up for yourself? Like, we have to be better with communication just in general, for ourselves, for our needs, and the people around us. Because the person, when you've been away for your whole life, 30, 40, 50 years, and nobody's ever checked you on it or brought it to your attention, we see life like this. You know, it's not always, we're not always looking around to figure out how we affect other people. We should be, but it's not. It's easier said than done. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Like, we all have a responsibility to each other to communicate our boundaries, show people our boundaries, for not only ourselves but for other people, because it may help somebody else finally make that change in
Nah,
their.
definitely. Again, like everybody have boundaries, not everybody enforce them. So you definitely gotta enforce those boundaries. You gotta let people know when you're uncomfortable. You gotta let them know like you can't take advantage of me. You can't put me
Yeah,
in those situations. And I
yeah,
think oftentimes like people don't want to be viewed as, the bad guy. But no, speak up for yourself. It
speak
all
up for
depends,
yourself. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm not gonna hold you too long. We're inching up on 1 hour, but I do have a couple more questions, and then I want to also get into how people can find you. I know you mentioned a YouTube channel, but I'm gonna let you do all that. And I got your board game back here. I'm about to show the people, do a little
Yeah,
unboxing,
yeah.
to see it
Did you
real quick.
okay, you ain't even played yet. I thought you
No, I
talking
haven't
about
played it. No, I haven't
okay.
played it. I was gonna do it for another event, but we had to cancel it. But I'm gonna get there real soon.
Got you. Yeah, yeah.
So, make sure I got a couple. It's a couple more questions I wanted to get out. If you hold on, let me read this. But make sure I want to ask you first. See, I didn't expect a lot of the stuff that you told me. I have a question on here, but now that I've heard your story, about the foster care situation, you didn't have a situation where like your parents are like, here, take him, or I don't, it wasn't anything like that. So this question pretty much said, if you could say something to parents to encourage them to get active in their children's life, what would it be? If you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to go
Nah,
ahead.
I mean, yeah, I definitely can still speak on that. Um, so parenting is definitely I enjoy parenting, to be honest, which is one of my highlights. Is part of my self care is to annoy my daughters. You know what I'm saying? So um, it's a YouTube video on my page too,
Yeah.
on parenting, on step parenting. So it's different tips that you
Okay.
can do, and a lot of people don't know like how to parent, and that's not due to like just being bums or being ignorant. It's due to a lot of people revert back to how they were raised, and they think like this is the way I got to do it, but you don't. Like you can break those cycles, you can shift
Yeah.
that perspective, you can treat your children like people, opposed to like children are sponges. They supposed to learn and absorb, but the way we were raised in most cases weren't necessarily healthy ways or proper ways.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel like, yo, this is how we got to do it because I turned out fine.
Yeah.
Did you turn out fine though?
That's all right.
Like yeah. So that's the main thing. Like a lot of people are numb to that situation, or just
Yeah.
so it's so foreign to them to listen to their children or to put their children in a position to grow, not only mentally but emotionally healthy. And like we said, like teaching communication or teaching effective skills socially, and just being in situations to resolve conflict opposed to shutting down and things. So for
Yes.
me, I definitely take it seriously, and I definitely would tell that person too, like parent the way that you feel you should do it, and not based on how you were raised or what you see on
Yes.
social media. Like
Mhm.
for me, like it's probably happened to you too. Like when don't be around when adults are talking, kids ain't supposed to hear whatever. I disagree with that. Like kids' job is to learn, is to get that information. You as the adult have to ensure that you articulate in a way that is not damaging to them. So if I'm talking to this other adult using explicit language or something that somebody's not supposed to hear, that's on me. That's not on the
Right.
child to, you
On
know
the
what I'm
child.
saying?
Yep.
Yeah, so it all depends on where you are. I guess people will have a different perspective, but for me, like I just ensure that I model a certain behavior to ensure that they are learning and growing and seeing what it's supposed to be
Right.
as a healthy adult, opposed
Yeah.
to, because realistically, the parenting influence is minimum compared to the outside influence. Like they're in school 8 hours a day. They may stay after school. They may play sports. They might got a cell phone now, so they're on social media. Realistically, you as a parent, your window is short. By the time they get home, y'all probably eat together. Y'all probably do something on weekends. But realistically, that influence is coming from their other peers or some they seen in a movie or TV. So it's up to you to be a bigger voice than those things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dropping the gems again. All right, so I think you kind of answered this earlier too, but I'll still throw it out there, see if you want to catch it. What would you say to little James?
You did it, man. Keep up the good work. Keep growing and keep going. Keep inspiring. Keep being motivated. Continue to be authentic and continue to help people.
Okay. All right. I like that. What if there was one sentence that you could go to the top of the world or a rooftop and shout it out to the world, what would you say? You can either answer that or you could answer what is something that you want everyone to know about you that maybe they wouldn't know by looking at you or hearing you talk.
I'll take the first one. If it was one thing that I can say, yell or whatever, it would be the same thing I told myself at 16.
Mm-hmm.
If they can feed you, they can starve you.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be a literal thing or that can be anything. But for me, like I'll never put anybody in charge of feeding me again. I always want to feed myself, not just from a nutrition standpoint, but from a business standpoint. There's so many people relying on a job or relying on their partner to take care of them. I just want to be self-sustained and self-efficient. And not from a standpoint of I don't want nobody to help me, but I don't want nobody to be like the sole means of that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you take away, like if you look at people now, like if somebody's on government assistance, like if that assistance stop or if it doesn't come, then what do they have? Or if this one partner is staying at home and the other partner is working, if their partner leaves or passes and don't have insurance, now what are you gonna do? So I don't nobody, if they can feed you, they can starve you. So you take that and apply it wherever it needs to be.
Wherever it needs to go. I love that. All right. You answered this question, but I was going to ask you about your parenthood, your fatherhood. What's your greatest joy in being a father?
Being an example for my little ones. I got 2 daughters, so 9 and 15. It's just that joy of being me because so a lot of it too is men are supposed to do whatever it, fill in the blank, whatever it is, whether it's a shot at masculinity or whether it's a shot at, what's appropriate or what, how so many different filters interact with that. Those things can be interchangeable. But for me, it's just a simple fact of my girls are going to know what a healthy man looks like, so they're not going to be in a position to where, I'm hoping, I'm praying, I'm ensuring that I'm modeling so they'll know what to accept. They'll know what to stay away from as far as relationships or just even in the office setting, even viewing entrepreneurship or me being a good person to, my lady, all of those things. I want them to recognize like, if so I make sure that I'm loud when I'm bringing in groceries. I'm making sure that my lady is not touching doors. I'm just being a gentleman and being that protector and provider, so they'll know like, if they ever heard a man say something out the way, they can always nah, my dad don't say that, my dad don't do, so I want them to be in that position. So fatherhood to me is one of my joys. It's definitely a highlight. It's fun.
I love it. You just light up when you start talking about it. I love it. So you talked about your partner. So you have a fiance, right?
Yeah, yep.
So talk to me briefly, about what, because you didn't grow up in the traditional sense, mom, dad, married, blah, blah, blah. So how has it been for you, like you said, trying to model what a relationship is supposed to look like? Like have you guys had to go through any growing pains? I'm sure you have, but talk to us about that. What does your relationship look like in terms of communication, it being healthy, things like that?
Yeah, so I don't agree that you have to have those models growing up. It's up to you to identify the life that you want to have. Realistically, like you probably can do multiplication now, but you had to learn addition first. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Hmm.
that doesn't negate the fact that you didn't know it. You learned it. So the same thing with this aspect. Like although I didn't have those examples, I know what I yearn for. I know what feels natural, what feels right to me. I know my partner deserves a certain thing, so I try to ensure that I'm nurturing, supportive, and validative in certain regards. And she does a good job of, giving me a safe place to land
Yeah.
and putting herself in a position to, accept my vulnerability and to allow me to be open and expressive. And I allow her the same grace.
Come on now. You got me beaming over here. I'm just really excited for you, your journey, where you've been, where you're going, what you're doing, your relationship, your fatherhood, your success, all of that stuff. And I believe in giving people their flowers. So I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. You're an amazing example. And I know that a lot of people have been touched. Y'all leave some more praise and comments for him down below. And just, watching the replay, if anything that was said here resonated with you, if you learned something new, drop it down below. Go follow James. And see everything that he's doing. I think I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Two more. So, if is there anything that you would like to say to single parents?
Single parents, I don't know. I mean, that's an open question.
I guess
It's a,
as it relates to, it could be related to your profession, or things that you just see out in the community, as a therapist, as somebody that is all for healthy relationships and um, all that good stuff. Like, what can you say
I
to
mean, so I would say so I'm gonna go back to my YouTube. It's a single mom's video on there, a single mom raising boys. That video might be beneficial too, if you have a lot of single women raising boys on there, but on your within your network, that's beneficial. But I mean, as far as single parenthood, you still can be an effective parent and an effective force within that child's life. And secondly, I guess I would say if you are having conflict or issues with your other parent, then
Mm-hmm.
put yourself in a position to analyze that the child is first. You guys might not be together. You guys have to co-parent. You owe that child that. So I mean, I would say that,
Yeah.
outside of that, then I think it would be a case by case to
Yeah.
where I can, elaborate on the answer.
Yeah.
But
I
the
understand.
child should be first.
I got it. I agree. What do you do? And what I mean by that is, how do you stay resilient? How do you, what do you do to continue to having that thriving spirit? And how do you motivate yourself? Like, what uplifts you spiritually? And I ask that question because people that are watching, people always share something different when I ask that question. And as it pertains to mental health or just physical health, emotional health, I love to give people new ways of thriving, learning to thrive and take care of themselves. So what do you do?
Um, I'm careful what I ingest, not just from a food standpoint, but from a media standpoint, from a life standpoint. I surround myself with minimum people, and those people I do interact with, they are influential, they're spiritual, they're, business minded, so I'm just careful on what I put inside me, whether that's mentally or of course from a nutrition standpoint. And I'm just fortunate enough to have a solid partner, and some great daughters, man.
Come on now. Y'all, this has been James Harris of Men to Heal in the Soul Seat. This is episode 5. It's been a great interview. We talked about a whole bunch, y'all. So I just want you to share where they can find you, and then I'm gonna show this board game that you created while you do that.
Yeah. Oh, so the easiest place to find me is definitely probably my website, www.mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. And on there, you can subscribe to my social media. You can subscribe to my YouTube. You can purchase a copy of my book, Man, Just Express Yourself, which is a good tool for if you got a son, if you got a brother, if you're a man. Of course, ladies, if you have a fiance or husband, this is a good tool for him as well. And of course, yes, you can get the board game on there. You can get the merch on there. Hit me up directly. It's also a resource link on there too if you need just different links and stuff, whether it's suicide hotline, whether that's crisis lines, different things like that. So mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com.
All
And
right.
the YouTube is Men to Heal.
Okay, y'all check them out. When I was doing my research, I actually went on your YouTube. It's a lot of valuable information. So I'm subscribed and I'll be looking out for more things that you post. There's a wealth of information on there. So I want to show the Cheesy Dates board game, y'all. Like, this is real deal. Holyfield, made by a black man, a black therapist. So I opened it a couple hours ago and just kind of went through. It's for ages 16 plus, 2 to 4 players, and it's for all type of relationships. So whether you're married, single, you got kids, you're a therapist, you want to use this in your office, different events, with your kids. I think I said that already, but anybody that got a mouthpiece and they can talk can play this game. So when I open it up, he has 4 pawns in here with some dice. So we got that, and then this is an unboxing video.
Appreciate you.
So this is what the board game looks. It's really well made, James. You did that. You did
Yeah,
that.
I just did the content. My fiance did all the graphics, and
Did she?
yeah, we collaborated on
Come
that. But the
on, y'all.
content, yeah,
She did an amazing job. So this is the board game, y'all. It is definitely well made, nice and sturdy. Fiance did her thing on that. And then you have 2 card decks. So explain to me the different colors. It's a purple one and a yellow one.
yeah. So the card decks is a date card deck, and then it's a questions card deck. And I
Okay.
did that because oftentimes people run low on spontaneity within their date ideas, or they just need different suggestions. And the question card deck is basically for wherever you are within the spectrum of your relationship. So if you're just meeting somebody, you guys have been dating for a long time, or you've been married 50 years. So these questions are designed to just put you in that situation to make sure that you understand your partner, or at least can have that engaging conversation to
Yeah.
where you can know your partner. So it's questions in there about, if I lose my job, are you willing to assist me? Or, and you'll be surprised. There's a lot of women like, I ain't taking care of that grown man. Not
Yeah.
knowing like, yo, we've been married 5 years. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So how well do you know this person that you with? And then of course is questions in there about intimacy or about communication. It's
Yep.
just a lot of different questions. But the date card deck is, of course, different ideas to give that boost, because oftentimes people get complacent. They think because now I got you, we ain't really got to do nothing. So I make sure that me and my lady are well entertained, so we just have fun. We be active. We take care of our girls, but we also, entertain each other to keep that spark going.
I absolutely love it. I saw somebody in the comments said she's getting the game for game night. Somebody, so many ideas, says thank you.
Oh,
Glo-
that's my fiance. So many ideas.
Oh, hey, so many ideas, girl. You did great, honey. How you doing? So Markeisha with Local Search says, love what you're doing with these conversations. Soleil, great interview. James, thank you both. This was great. From Medley Style. Local Search said high vibrations. So many ideas, was clapping for her man. Yes, this was a great interview, James. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I hope many more blessings, I'm sure they will come, continue to rain upon you and your family. So I just want to say thanks. And y'all check out this on the replay. I think that's everything I'm supposed to say. I got a couple announcements that I'll say when you leave out.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Thank you
Now,
so much.
I listen. I appreciate you for having me. Keep up the good work. You're about to go worldwide,
Come on
um,
now.
and I'm happy that I was your first male guest. So
Yes, you brought
yeah.
that. You did that. I'm so
Listen,
excited.
just have me back for the reunion next year when you're about to get your show on Stars or something.
You better speak it. I got you. I got you. I got you.
All
Thank you
right, keep
so
up the
much.
good
Take care.
work.
Thank you so much. You too. Y'all, that was absolutely amazing. That was the 5th conversation from the Soul Seek Conversation series. Thank y'all. I see y'all in the comments saying it was amazing. Y'all, I learned so much. And we can always have ideas of what we think, things is I learned a lot, and I hate to say I was stereotyping, not him per se, but I have a lot of beliefs or ideas about, men and mental health as it's centered around them. And he broke a lot of those stereotypes. So I am learning with you all as I bring people on and share their stories. So thank y'all so much. Yes, this is number 5, and we will have more in the future. We are booked all the way up for our Soul Seek conversations all the way till September. So we only have October, November, and December. September might be available. Something like that. It's only 4 or 5 more slots available. So if you have a resilient story, if you know someone that has a story, you want to nudge them to finally share their story, to be transparent, to inspire people, definitely share this live with them. Share our page, Soul Rise Essentials. Go get you some merch. This is our long sleeve pack light affirmation tee. We have children's tees available as well. This is our brand new Soul Tribe affirmation necklace, the mini version. Behind me is the original version, the Soul Tribe affirmation necklace for adults. This one is also for adults, but this also will fit a child's neck as well. Go to our website. You can use James 10 for 24 hours. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that code will have expired. Go get you some merch, y'all. Thank you for supporting Soul Rise Essentials. Thank you we had a good audience tonight. I don't know if it was the time. I'm sleepy though, y'all. I'm a single parent and I'm tired, but this was nice. And I see that there was a lot more people here for this time frame. So let me see what you guys are talking about in the comments. Mama Jamie says, the best I am. Is it Sharisa says this was great. Thank you so much. I saw a lot of mental health professionals in the comments tonight joining the live. Thank y'all for being here. Let's see. I'm getting claps and applauses. I would love to share my story from Sharisa. Please DM me. I would love to talk with you to make sure it's a good fit. Would love to have you on and share your resilient story. Local Search says, can I come on for September? I'm ready to talk as a birthday gift to myself. Come on now, girl. Yes, absolutely. Markeisha, thank you for sharing that code down below. Y'all, I am beaming. I love our people. I love people in general. I love strong, resilient people that overcome. May your soul continue to rise again. Whatever it is that you may be going through in life, I know sometimes it can feel like you're by yourself, but the Soul Tribe exists. So you always know that you are never alone. We're going to all go through some different things in life, but you're never by yourself. Go copy your affirmation necklace so you can put this on. And I'm telling y'all, it's like magic. The high vibes are in this necklace. I hear it all the time. Somebody just texted me that yesterday. I hear people say the shirts and the merch give them power. They feel like they can do anything. So don't take my word for it. Just go to the website, soulriseessentials.com. Thank y'all so much for being here. Have a great night. If you're in Virginia, I don't know if it's still snowing, but be safe out there. Y'all know we can't drive in the snow. Peace, y'all. Stay well and be well.